Guys, what's up guys? Hopefully you guys are doing amazing. So I want us to prepare this coming week. So from the chart, what you can see, this is the 4-hour time frame for me, and let me see over here what's happening. And from the chart, what you can see currently, we're gonna be having the weekly time frame. I don't know about my scale. All right. Okay, what's happening over here? Okay. All right, so here we go. I guess the scale is now doing amazing. So if I get rid of everything, I want us to start with this weekly analysis, what I'm expecting this coming week and what we did see last week happen. So from the weekly time frame, I want to make this one a quick in and maybe 10 to 15 minutes this video, and we're going to be analyzing gold DXY mainly, and the opposite is true for EU and GU. So what are we seeing from the weekly time frame? We have the all-time highs, which happens to be the previous week's high at this point. So we have this as our previous week's high, need to be labeled previous week's high, should be at the bottom, top I mean. All right, so the previous week's high, which happens to be the all-time highs, if the market will be going higher, then that's what we need to see the market draw to. And over here we have the previous week's low, which happens to be paired with a weekly fair value gap. So also we need to label that the previous week's low, all right, which happens to be WL. And if it's paired with a weekly fair value gap, I love to ensure that we have a slash weekly FVG. Nice one, should be at the bottom, right? So if the market will be showing us weaknesses, which we'll need to identify which is the more likely direction for this coming week, then I think we need to see what price has already done prior, that now we can use that to identify the likelihood of the market going lower. Also, we have a weekly fair value gap below here, so I'll have to label it to see whether the market maybe how the market will react to the first fair value gap. Then of that we can see whether the market will be dropping lower. So the weekly fair value gap bottom right, ideal. And now what we can observe last week that the market did is we have this previous week's high that the market swept, and that candle we can see it closed below or inside liquidity. Whenever we say inside liquidity is whenever a candle swept the highs and then closes below the high, right? So that's a good example of those liquidities, or a market closing inside liquidity. So previous week's high was swept, the market rallied higher, then we dropped and closed inside that liquidity, and currently that candle is a bearish one. But we need to identify this week where are we likely expecting to see the market deliver to. If we drop further to the daily time frame and see what we are seeing, so if I line up things over here, all right, so we have this as the previous week's high that was swept, and we can see we had last week a lot of consolidation. The market really didn't move, but if we can see if the daily time frame isn't really clear, then we can drop further to see what the market is communicating. But of the daily time frame, what you can see, Monday pushed higher, Tuesday we saw the Monday high, then we displaced lower, and then as of Wednesday we continue lower to that daily fair value gap over here, which has already been utilized. So if indeed the market will be going bearish, then it's no longer this fair value gap that will be attracting the market going lower, but these liquidities that happens to be the previous week's low. So on Friday, what we saw, we swept also the Wednesday's high, and then the market dropped, but we didn't really form a bearish engulfing candle because that Friday candle didn't really close below the Thursday's candle. But we have the weekly fair value gap, we also have these fair value gaps, but also remember we are having these fair value gaps below there. So not really clear, but major liquidity pools in form of previous week's highs are being swept and previous days highs are being swept. So we can say that we can anticipate more of bearish, but that's not really what you are seeing. We need to trade what you are seeing for now. we don't have clarity, so we need maybe to wait for some more clarity. Maybe on Monday, that's when we can engage. But if the market will be bearish, that will be what we can anticipating to see the market clear. Then later on we can observe whether these weekly fair value gap will be traded into. And from the 4-hour time frame, what you can notice with these weekly fair value gap, sorry for the lighting guys, it's around 7 over here. It's getting dark, I'm outside really. And what you can see from the weekly fair value gap, what we have is a 4-hour fair value area low liquidity. So if we see this fair value area low being disrespected, then we can anticipate the market drive to that weekly fair value gap. But for now, really anticipating nothing. Like I'm not having a clear direction. For me to be in for bulls, then I need to see a breakthrough this high, the previous week's high, which will act also to be my critical high. If we see some displacement above that high, then to me I can expect continuations going higher. But also if we come and see displacements below the bodies of this or below the previous week's low, then we can see how price react to the fair value area and then continue lower. So for now, nothing really clean happening with gold because it seems to be we are in a consolidation. But for me to be bearish, we need to see how price will react to this previous week's low. If we sweep through it and we start displacing going higher, then we can see if swing highs will be presented or will be formed around this area so that we engage going higher. But for now, I'm just relaxed. And if we talk of DXY, if we talk on DXY and lots of markups from last week, let's see. Hopefully it's not windy with you guys and you can hear me. All right, so from the weekly time frame for DXY, what are we seeing? All right, from the weekly time frame, what you can see is the market did react off the fair value area that we talked about, but over here we have an overlap of a weekly fair value gap. So we have this weekly fair value gap that was left open, hasn't really been traded into. So we need to consider that. And so weekly fair value gap should be at the top, right? Exactly. I will align it from the lower time frames. And also from the weekly time frame, what you're noticing is we have been sweeping the major liquidity pools in form of the previous week's lows. So we have the previous week's low that was swept. Market that rallied deep, then we swept the liquidities and then we rejected the candle closing bullish. And since we have that weekly fair value gap also paired with a weekly high, it can be a major liquidity pool or a point where we can expect to see the market deliver to. And because it's a fair value gap, then we want to see how price will be reacting to that, because we might see because we are in a bearish market, we might see a sting into this bearish fair value gap, then a drop going lower, targeting these liquidities that has been engaged. So I need also to have this previous week's low in form of a major liquidity pool that maybe the market can sting into that fair value gap, and then we displace lower. So we have the previous week's low, a major liquidity pool, I think should be at the bottom right. Exactly. So I will be watching how price reacts to that weekly fair value gap, and off there we will try to reanalyze if the market will be bearish or bullish. So my main scenario for this coming week, after sweeping that previous week's low, that previous one, we have this week's low also being formed around this point. So if we are bearish, want to see if the market will sting into this area, maybe the daily fair value gap, and how we're gonna be reacting to those levels, because we might sting and then we start displacing lower. And a good example was this week. We had a consolidation here because the market was bearish. We didn't really have the pushes going higher, but what we saw, consolidation, then the market tanked lower. The same scenario, sting into this a weekly fair value gap or the daily fair value gap, and then we start tanking lower. So that's what I will be expecting for the opposite for EU and GEO. So for DXY, I'm just waiting to see how price react to that weekly fair value gap, and so I will label have my alert set there, how the market reacts to that level, and then off that point for gold, for gold also we're gonna be watching how price reacts to the how to this level, and also towards this weekly fair value gap, then we can engage. So it's not really clear for now, but patience will be what is what we will be required of, and hopefully we can have something before Monday 9 a.m. New York time, and if we don't see anything, then we can call it off and wait for Tuesday. So that is it, guys. Hopefully I'm not too dark for you guys, and looking forward to have an amazing week with you guys. So until then, see ya.